Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Desatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udhirayet. Sushrushoshadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syanmahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanat Shrinvata Svakata Krishna Punyashravana Kirtanaha Hridyantasto Hyabadrani Vidunoti Vidunoti Suhritsatam Nashtaprayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Tada Rajastamo Bhava Kamalobhadayaschaye Chetaye Tairana Vigdam Stitam Satve Prasidati Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogatah bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarva samshayah kshiyante chasya karmani drishta evatmanishvare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone for Monday morning Bhagavatam class. So we are going to read from first canto, third chapter, verse number 44. Yanmanyase dhruvam lokam adhruvam va nachobhayam sarvata nahi shocyaste snehadanyatra mohajat. Yanmanyase dhruvam lokam adhruvam va nachobhayam sarvata nahi shocyaste snehad anyatra mohajat. Yanmanyase dhruvam lokam adhruvam va nachobhayam sarvata nahi shocyaste snehadanyatra mohajat. So, word to word meanings, yet even though manyase you think, dhruvam absolute truth, lokam persons, adhruvam non-reality, va either, na or not, cha also, ubayam or bothwise, sarvata in all circumstances, na never, he certainly, sochyaha subject for lamentation, te they snehat due to affection, anyatra or otherwise, moha jat due to bewilderment. Translation. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. O King, Narada Muni speaking to Maharaj Yudhishthir. O King, in all circumstances, whether you consider the soul to be an eternal principle, or the material body to be perishable, or everything to exist in the impersonal absolute truth, or everything to be an inexplicable combination of matter and spirit, feelings of separation are due only to illusory affection and nothing more. Purport. Well, I'll read the translation once more. O King, in all circumstances, whether you consider the soul to be an eternal principle, or the material body to be perishable, or everything to exist in the impersonal absolute truth, everything to be an inexplicable combination of matter and spirit, feelings of separation are due only to illusory affection and nothing more. Purport. The actual fact is that every living being is an individual part and parcel of the Supreme Being, and his constitutional position is subordinate cooperative service, either in his conditional material existence or in his liberated position of full knowledge in eternity. The living entity is eternally under the control of the Supreme Lord. But those who are not conversant with factual knowledge put forward many speculative propositions about the real position of the living entity. It's admitted, however, by all schools of philosophy that the living being is eternal and the covering body of five material elements is perishable and temporary. The eternal living entity transmigrates from one material body to another by the law of karma, and material bodies are perishable by their fundamental structures. Therefore, there is nothing to be lamented in the case of the souls being transferred into another body, or the material bodies perishing at a certain stage. There are others also who believe in the merging of the spirit. Sorry. There are others also who believe in the merging of the spirit soul in the Supreme Spirit when it is uncovered by the material encagement. And there are others also who do not believe in the existence of spirit or soul, but believe in tangible matter. In our daily experience, we find so many transformations of matter from one form to another. But we do not lament such changing features. In either of the above cases, the force of divine energy is uncheckable. No one has any hand in it, and thus there is no cause of grief. So we've been hearing this chapter of Dhritarashtra's quitting home by the mercy of Vidura, and then once he leaves home, the feelings or emotions that Yudhishthira Maharaj and Sanjaya go through. We can only imagine that specifically for Sanjaya, who has spent all his life from his, youth till, Dhritarashtra left home. Till then, he was just with Dhritarashtra pretty much every minute. More than anybody else, um, except for, of course, Gandhari. So even though he was serving Dhritarashtra as in a position of a servant, but the um, attachment or affection one holds for the other person increases more and more with the more and more exchanges. And in respect to Yudhishthira Maharaj, he considered Dhritarashtra as an elder, as um, you know, the due respect. He was giving due respect to Dhritarashtra as the elder brother of his father. So there is some natural affection towards a person who suddenly left home without even giving any notice. So we are hearing now from Narada Muni, who comes at timely fashion every time to educate all of us actually, and educate uh, different personalities, and through that we get education also. So here Prabhupada or Krishna, not Krishna, sorry, Narada Muni says something what Krishna told in Bhagavad Gita also. There are a few different philosophies that come out in this verse. So first of all, whether you consider the soul to be eternal principle, Sanatana Dharma principle, or material body to be perishable, and then everything to exist in impersonal absolute truth, Brahmavad philosophy, or sometimes to some extent Mayavad philosophy, and everything to be an inexplicable combination of matter and spirit. It just cannot be explained. The combination of matter and spirit are so intertwined, and it's so difficult to separate that it's not even it's inexplicable. So in any of this and all of these circumstances, Narada Muni is saying feelings of separation are due only to illusory affection and nothing more. And in Prabhupada explains in the purport also that what is the actual fact? The actual fact is that every living being is the individual part and parcel of Supreme Being. So this particular sentence has a profound meaning to it, right? This means that we are not just human beings having a spiritual experience, actually, but we are spiritual beings having a human experience here in this world. So life is not just this particular um, life that we are living. It's a continuum for a spirit soul. We have taken human form of life this time, and last time or the previous time, we don't know what we were. And the living entities that we see around here, we don't know what they were. But ultimately, Prabhupada is putting in the first sentence itself that the actual fact is that our identity is part and parcel of Krishna as a servant, as a subordinate, or Prabhupada puts that cooperative service, subordinate cooperative service. Um, the subordinate cooperative service term is sometimes very heavy because of seeing through the filters of what our experience is in this world to be subordinate, or to be cooperative. Those terms, actually, cooperation is a nice term, but when it gets mixed up with the domination culture kind of a thing, like subordinate cooperative seems to be very difficult. But when it is out of love, it is very natural. It is reciprocal and natural. So that is the position of every living entity, including us. So then Prabhupada is again going further. One second, I'm just moving the screen. Yeah. So either in our so Prabhupada is saying that either in its conditional material existence or in a liberated position of full knowledge and eternity, the living entity is eternally under the control of the Supreme Lord. So this we also hear in actually in the first verse of Bhagavatam, Janmadhya Seyataha. So in that, from Krishna's perspective, it is given, or from Bhagavan, he is Itarata. He knows, he's indirectly and directly cognizant of whatever is happening. And here for us, we know that we have heard and we have studied how one is under the control of the Supreme Lord. Either uh, one is in conditional existence or one in liberated position. So in the liberated position, internal energy, it's Daivi Prakriti, right? Daivim Prakritim Ashritaha. They are under the shelter of Daivim Prakriti. Mahatmas are under the um, um, direction and control or management of Daivi Prakriti, and that is liberated souls, and the conditional living entities are under the uh, control of Daivi Hyesha Gunamayi, right? It's divine energy of mind. He says in 7th chapter, Krishna says in 7th chapter, 14th verse, that it is the three modes of nature is also they're also divine energy, but external energy. So one is either under external energy or under internal energy, because we are marginal potency by nature. So we choose either this or that. But once making a choice, we do need to the what do you call endure the uh, after effects of the choice. So then Prabhupada is saying here, so no matter what, anybody can put any kind of philosophy, any speculative propositions, but the real position does not change, right? So we may say, um, for example, we may, argue that water is actually ice. This ice is a natural position because that's what I see around me. When snow time comes, winter time comes, all we see is snow. So we can say is water is not liquid. Water is always like this. I mean, if we were to live in a place where it's only ice throughout the year or the snow throughout the year, then we would feel that that's what is natural. And to make it into water, we need to heat it up. That would be our conviction or our proposition, right? But that doesn't change the nature of water being fluid or water being liquid, not fluid, liquid. So similarly, whatever philosophies one may use to say, oh, life is just one, enjoy it just this one lifetime, there's nothing else. Or one may say that, this is not the only life. We have all other life forms and lifetimes left. So just go with the flow, and it's just a circular. We just are carried from one to the other. We go in circles, and there's nothing we can do. So just karma is the karma mimamsa. Karma is the topmost. So whatever karma we do, we just have to go with it and just go round and round. So there's so many philosophies. Or one may say, oh, now we are all covered by illusion. Once we realize we are God, then we are we are just in the Brahma Jyoti. One may philosophize and have different conceptions and speculative propositions, but that does not change the actual fact that a living entity is individual part and parcel of the Supreme Being. So intelligent persons just accept the actual fact and not fall for any philosophies that is less than that actual fact. That's what we see in Nectar of Devotion. The analogy of the devotee is compared is to a shark. Shark only lives in ocean and the deepest portions of the ocean. They don't live in the rivers because they're not convinced of any other place than the um, big ocean. Similarly, the devotees are not convinced of any other uh, philosophy that is less than the actual fact, Sanatan Dharma, actual fact of one's connection with Krishna. Even if we are under conditioned, like life, we are still convinced of that fact or philosophy. That's most important. It's not like, oh, when I become liberated, I'll accept this philosophy. No, actually, when we are conditioned also, we are we can happily accept this philosophy and be happy. Not comfortable in this place, but be happy because that is my reality and this is a temporary reality that we have. Then Prabhupada goes on in the next sentence. uh, it is admitted, however, by all schools of philosophy that living being is eternal, and that the covering body of five material elements is perishable and temporary. We all know this. Bhumira, Pvanala, Vayu, Kam, Mano, Buddhi, Revacha. These are all 8 separated energies of Krishna. And anybody who thinks a little bit beyond body can understand that we are not this body. Once a person leaves, the person is no more in that body, and we don't preserve the body, and the body doesn't just stay here in this universe forever. It is merged in the sense it is just dissolved in one way or the other into the back to the five material elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Or, through one of those elements it is consumed, right? So then Prabhupada continues: the eternal living entity transmigrates from one material body to another by the law of karma, but material bodies are perishable by their fundamental structures. Therefore, there is nothing to be lamented in the case of the souls being transferred into another body or material bodies perishing at a certain stage. So we will just, discuss from here just a few things. We know this philosophy, or we have heard this philosophy from Bhagavad Gita many times in second chapter. This even Sanskrit is the same, language is the same. Here, uh, Narada Muni says, Sarvata nahi sochyaste, sochyaste. Sochya means subject for lamentation. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna uses this nahi, nanu sochitum arhasi, arhati, sorry, nanu sochitum arhasi. This phrase comes in, I think, 5 different verses as the last line of the verse, last sentence of the verse. There's nothing to be lamented for, like that. So, and another important principle or another important message given here in this verse is Snehad Anyatra Mohajat, the last word, last sentence. It is due only, the feeling of separation are due only to illusory affection and nothing more. Anyajat, there's nothing else. Anyatra Mohajat. So the Sneha Anyatra Mohajat is also important for us to understand. Krishna himself tells to Brahma in second canto in one of the main Chatushloki verses, actually the first verse of Chatushloki verses of Bhagavatam, second canto, 9th chapter, 33rd verse, that, Krishna says there that I am the origin for everything, I am the source, and then Aham Eva Asham Eva Agre. Then he says that whoever sees something that is separate from me is not reality. Oh Brahma, that's not reality. If somebody sees something as separate from me, that is illusion. So so affection that is based on seeing a person separate from Krishna, that is illusion. Otherwise affection is genuine, right? Because we are not wanting to, this verse is not to prepare one to become hard-hearted and say there's no emotions, no feelings. Okay, whoever dies dies, whoever lives lives, and I don't care. Not that kind of a philosophy. Actually, our philosophy helps us to combine emotions into a higher realm of life. Actually, that's why these have to be taken not just as a rule or regulation where we may just impose this on ourselves or others by saying the grief that you're going through is no value because you're so and so, whoever you're thinking, they're not yours. I mean, in philosophically, having a philosophical outlook is important for life so that we don't get consumed by the temporary emotions, actually. But the same philosophical outlook, if it is not empathic, if it is not combined with understanding the pain of ourselves or others, it becomes jnana kind of a platform where one is unable to have any relationships. So that means that one is unable to have relationship even with Krishna. That's the one of the main philosophies that come out of fear of relationships is Mayavad philosophy. One is so frustrated with the existing relationships of this material world, that one decides, I don't want, this is not true, this is duality. So I want to go to a place which is no duality, and that is impersonal Brahma Jyoti. Because if I say God has a form, then I have to relate with him as relationship, and relationship is going to give me pain. So better just get out of here and just merge. So that's not where we are heading to with this philosophical outlook of life. A devotee is naturally soft hearted. So when we go through a loss, or when someone goes through a loss, we connect to emotions, we connect to the pain, but with a strong philosophical outlook of seeing the reality or the fact remains, right? So that is the principle that we are learning with all these verses, either in Bhagavad Gita or here in this circumstance, or we will see further later on also in Bhagavatam throughout, that we are just not like taking philosophy as a rule, but we are seeing this philosophy, this philosophy as a window where, through which, or as a corrective lenses for us, through which we can actually see the factual identity of another person beyond just our emotions. So not negating emotions, but at the same time not negating philosophy. Both have to be in place together, where we can see a person or ourselves in a holistic fashion. So that's the mature way of having philosophical outlook to um, life, and these verses help us with that. So I'll pause there for this verse, and we can, if you have, anybody has any discussions, we can share. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you so much. I mean, I think many times the emotions and the philosophy looks like contradictions, right? So, I mean, yesterday also I was asking that question. So, like Yudhishthira Maharaj, I mean, that is nature. It's natural way of, I mean, taking that responsibility, being a devotee. I mean, because he's thinking that he did that mistake, but
Yeah,
the other side of the story is right? I mean, when we have that understanding, and of course, I'm not comparing with Yudhishthira Maharaj. I'm saying in our case. So, I mean, we know a bit of philosophy, but then, I mean, we are primarily overtaken by the emotions, right? Than the philosophy. But yeah, sometimes maybe the other way also it can happen with the completely dry philosophies. I mean,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
just reflecting, Mataji. I think thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, I don't recollect which, I think one of our, one Maharaj, I don't know why I'm not able to remember. Anyway, well, I don't remember, said that having a philosophical outlook for life circumstances is actually very important. With, along with experiencing the emotions, our outlook all should be philosophical. We see it even in some, like philosophers like Viktor Frankl. I mean, it's really, and we see in many of the saintly personalities, and um, that there is something always highest good, right? That basic philosophy is, at least somebody, if they accept, they are able to live, or they're able to search for meaning in their life. And when we even do that much, it gives search for meaning, it gives a meaning to life. Now when we accept the philosophy that actually we, none of us belong here, and none of us just are restricted to this particular body or this particular form, a woman or man, that gives a higher perspective to live by, you know even if we to just even experience the emotions, it becomes holistic. Yeah. Anyway, just commenting back again on your reflection, Prabhu.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, the holistic thing. Yeah. Otherwise, it will be either way. So philosophy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. It's 7:30. We could end here if there's no other further discussions or any expressions of reflections. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate this forum where we can read every day. Hare Krishna. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Hare Krishna.